Joining me on the telecast is my colleague Megha Sharma, Senior Executive Editor of NewsX World, reporting live from Banff, Alberta, Canada, with a complete lowdown on Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's final day at the G7 summit, including his key bilaterals, outreach sessions, and what's next on his diplomatic agenda.
The G7 Leaders Summit here at Kananaskis in Alberta, Canada has now gotten over, and with that, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Canada has also concluded. It has been a significant visit for the Prime Minister as he held a number of bilaterals, pool-asides, and also participated in the working session which was dedicated by the G7 host Mark Carney for the outreach nations including India, Ukraine, South Africa, Mexico, Brazil, who were all present to participate in the conversation that revolved around critical energy securities. Now, talking about the key bilaterals that were held by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, number one, of course, was the full focus on the Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney and Prime Minister Narendra Modi's bilateral. The key aspects of this meeting came to fore when both the leaders addressed the media, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi particularly spoke about how India and Canada ties go down in history, whether it is about the huge amounts of investments that Canadian companies have in India, or for that matter, the Indian diaspora and its investment in Canada in large numbers. Not just that, Prime Minister Narendra Modi spoke about how the last time that he visited in 2015, when Stephen Harper was the Prime Minister of Canada, and it is 10 years later that the Prime Minister has now visited and met Mark Carney on the Canadian soil. He expressed hope that with the leadership of the newly elected Prime Minister Mark Carney, whom he also congratulated for the victory in the elections, both the leaders, he hoped, would work together for the global good, for strengthening India and Canada relationship, as well as concretizing humanity and working for the greater good. In response, of course, the Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney made similar references to how India and Canada can come together to work with resilience and cooperate on a number of issues, whether it is about creating supply chains for critical minerals, whether it is about utilizing natural resources for mutual good, or talking about fighting terrorism together, or talking about transnational crime, and where two nations can collaborate, communicate, and cooperate in this area. Besides that, if I talk about the other pull-asides that the Prime Minister had, the first one was with the Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum. The second pull-aside was with the South Korean President Lee Jae-myung. Besides that, he also had a quick interaction with the South African President Cyril Ramaphosa. He also had a pull-aside with the French President Emmanuel Macron. And he also spoke during his meetings with all the leaders. He also had a pull-aside with the Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese. So this was in all a synopsis of how the G7 Leaders Summit went for Prime Minister Narendra Modi. And of course, there was this grand welcome that Prime Minister Narendra Modi received at the hands of Prime Minister Mark Carney earlier in the day. He, of course, there was the photo session, the family photo of the G7 and outreach leaders, which included, of course, all the G7 leaders, barring President Donald Trump, who had to leave suddenly yesterday in wake of the Middle Eastern crisis that is worsening with time. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has now departed for Croatia. He will be there for a bilateral meet with the president of Croatia. He is going to be headed to Zagreb, the capital. It is going to be a little less than 24 hours visit that is being planned for the Prime Minister, and he will be arriving home in New Delhi on 19th. I'll keep a close track of all the developments that take place and stay tuned on NewsX. I'm Megha Sharma with my camera person, Situ Madhavan.
After months of diplomatic chill, India and Canada